Welcome back to another episode of Georgia Sports Nation. We got some more Hawks and Braves content on tap for you guys today. We're going to be recapping the Cubs series sweep. 3 in a row sent the Cubbies back up to Milwaukee now, where they will play the most important series of the year. Meanwhile, the Braves relaxing, locked up home field for the entirety of the playoffs. So that was a key series for us, even if we already clinched the division. We're going to be previewing the National Series and talking about what the Braves' possible starting rotation looks like for the division series with the unfortunate loss of Charlie Morton heading to the IL. And towards the end of the show, we're going to be previewing Hawks Media Day. That's right. In less than a month from now, the Hawks start the season October 25th versus the Charlotte Hornets. And I'm going to be on Media Day. I'm going to be there on Monday asking questions to the players, to Coach Snyder, to Landry Fields. It's going to be exciting. And so anybody who's watching now, if you want to let me know some questions in the chat or anything throughout the broadcast, I'll definitely take a look at them and see if I can ask them when I go to Media Day on Monday. But without further ado, we got Big Ant back in the show, returning after 2 months. Let's get it.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I'm back in the free age, baby.
How about that Cubs series?
Oh, man. You know what? The bats showed up and showed out often. And I'm glad that Matt Olson, he got that monkey off his back.
The RBI franchise.
Yes, you can see he's been working hard for that, man. Like, and we finally look. Ozuna, man, he is the unsung hero of this team. He was struggling like early on in the season, as well as Mike Harris, but they done turned it around like a complete 180. Like, and I'm happy for him because now we're seeing what we couldn't do last year. We're getting hot at the right time, in time for the playoffs. So exactly. That's what was needed.
There's the group of people about last week when we were doing the show who said, man, for about a week and a half there after the clinch, the Braves were kind of going through the motions. And Jeffrey and Core and Tom Glavine on the broadcast have both said, yes, players and managers will always say we're trying to win every game. But in the back of their minds, there is still that sense that, okay, we clinched the division. We can kind of relax. They said no matter what they say, there is that in their heads. And this Cubs series just proves that, the Braves are back. They want to have the momentum, like you said, going into the division series. And I said it on the show last week. I don't mind if, they kind of cruise into that last week and a half. But in the final week, I want to see them put most of their regular guys out there and win with confidence heading into that division series, and that's exactly what they're doing. We're going to be throwing some lower level pitchers in this upcoming national series, most notably Bryce Elder, who is not actually going to be throwing on a scheduled rest. The Braves thought it would be better for him to get an extra day of rest and more time to just think about how he's been struggling in the second half of the season, because he might be needed, especially in the game 3 of the NLDS.
Right.
Coleman here asked, y'all think Vine is ready to be in the rotation until Charlie gets back? What about you, Ant? You want to answer that?
You know what? He's shown some strides. I'll admit that. He could be ready if we call upon him, but the playoff during the regular season is one thing, but in the playoffs, that's a totally different animal.
Yeah,
I would rather see him, like work his way, in, like in the not the bullpen, but not the stretch, but the setup man,
like an opener. Are you talking about?
Yeah, something like that.
Pitch the first couple innings and that's it.
Exactly. Get his feet back a little bit. And so he can get the sense of what it's like in the playoffs, and then see, evaluate that, and then if he does good, go ahead.
Yeah, And today, these are important starts for the guys that will throw. I mean, we're going to dive into more in depth about the preview in the National Series, but the guys started tonight, Alan Winans, very much a potential like preview of what he can do for this Braves front office and the Braves coaching staff if he should be on that postseason roster. This is an important start for him, and especially all the young pitchers that we're going to throw in this final series of the year. But back to this Cubs series. In the first game, unfortunately, we had a bad outing from Bryce Elder. Like we've been pretty used to him having bad outings in the second half of the year, but this one was especially bad. When you had Yan Gomes get absolutely one of the worst RBI hits I've ever seen. Yan Gomes, the catcher for the Cubs, one of the older catchers in the league. He's I think he's 38 years old by now, but he hits a dribbler in the second inning to Austin Riley, who's got to put it in his pocket. And then after that, it seemed like the floodgates just went right open. Like Bryce Elder just couldn't regain his composure after that. And yes, that's a terrible hit, but unfortunately, that's just how baseball goes sometimes. So Bryce ended only with 3 2/3 of 7 hits, 5 runs, 5 earned runs, 4 walks, and 2 strikeout ball, which, that's not going to get it done. That's not going to give your coaching staff some confidence with you on that postseason roster, especially to start Game 3. So that was really unfortunate to see him in the last start of the season kind of had one of his bad outings of the year, especially on such a good year overall that he's had when he was an All-Star.
Right, exactly. And I'll say, like, I want him to get this, excuse my French, but get this shit out your system now. Mm-hmm. Like, get it out your system now. I know he's been struggling for a minute in the second half, but I'd rather for him to do this in the regular season than to be costing us games in the postseason. Now, it just so happens that we have a historic offense that can come back from games like that. Mm-hmm. But what happens when you facing the pitcher that can stymie that offense? Now we've lost that game.
And we saw that in the first game, honestly. I mean, Justin Steele, who in my opinion, I think he's the Cy Young. I think he's a Cy Young winner of the National League. I know Blake Snell is up there close. There may be an argument for Spencer Strider, but for me, his ERA is too large for me to give him the Cy Young. Even though, obviously, with my subjective vote, I'd give Spencer Strider the Cy Young. But I think it's between Steele and Snell right now. And the Braves really struggled against Justin Steele. Overall, 5 1/3 innings of 6 hit, 3-run ball, 3 of those earned, and really only one of them should have been earned. I mean, Ozzie led off the game on a homer, I do believe. Oh no. So the Braves actually didn't score a run until the 6th inning. That was the game before that. Braves didn't score a run until the 6th inning, and that only happened because after Justin Steele came out of the game, the Braves scored runs off the Cubs bullpen all game. Jose Cuas did allow 1 hit when he came into that 6th inning, and even though he didn't allow an earned run, that hit and those runs were charged to Justin Steele. Kevin Pillar was the guy who really got the offense going. Another unsung hero for this Braves offense and a whole team overall, because anytime he starts, he produces. He's the guy who jumpstarted this offense with that homer off Justin Steele in the 6th inning.
Right. He is another unsung hero, especially. I'm not going to take away from what he does at hitting, but his defense, man, it's something else, man. Like when you're called upon to step up when you don't play that often. Sometimes players just, go through the motions and stuff. Not him. No, he shows up every single time that he's called upon.
Yeah. And the Cubs bullpen struggling was a theme in this series. Their starting pitching really wasn't that bad outside of the last game. You had Javier Assad come in and allow 2 earned runs as well in this first game. And Then you had the Braves. They were knocking on the doorstep. 6-5, coming into the bottom of the 8th, 2 outs. Sean Murphy at the plate, He hits a lazy fly ball to right center field, and Seiya Suzuki calls off center field, not Cody Bellinger, Mike Tauchman. He calls off Mike Tauchman, and Seiya Suzuki misses the ball. The Braves score 2 runs off that error, and Raisel Iglesias comes in. Elite closer, Raisel Iglesias, by the way. I'm going to keep saying that because there are still Braves fans who somehow do not believe in this guy in October, and I don't know what else they want to see. But anyway, he comes in, shuts the door, Braves get the win. I mean, that was just a crazy sequence of events.
That was crazy. I mean, you know what? It kind of reminded me of, I'm trying to think of the when we played in the 2021. It was, who was it? I think it was against the Dodgers. Dude, he missed the ball. Like it went right underneath his glove. And I'm trying to, what are you looking at? Like,
I think he might have lost it in the lights or something. I'm not even sure here.
It had to be the lights because, I mean, he was like inches away from catching that ball and just like
there was, and I want to speak about this a little bit more for a moment because Seiya Suzuki's really had a great season overall in Chicago. I mean, if you look at the numbers and if you look at the second half he's had, and David Ross said it at the end of the game, I mean, we wouldn't even be in this position fighting for a playoff spot if it wasn't for Seiya Suzuki. So when I saw Cubs fans in the replies on Twitter and all over Twitter saying, you know, oh my goodness, saying like such bad things about Suzuki and everything, it honestly just made me feel bad for him because let's be honest, if you're looking at this game and you're a Yankees fan who's out of the playoffs already, you know, bad season, you're just watching baseball for fun, and you see that, you never want to see a guy miss that ball and have to go through the ridicule that he's going to get through after that game.
No.
And honestly, for me too, you never want to see a guy miss the catch like that. And that just so happened, the Braves took the momentum and seemed to ride it the rest of the series with that.
Yeah. I mean, I never want to see, you know, because if you're a fan of the sport, you know, as we are, you will never want to see something like that.
No.
But it just so, you know, it happens. It's part of baseball. You know, players are human. That's what people have to, you know, continue to understand. They're going to make mistakes, you know, every now and then. So, hey, it happens, and it just so happened that we capitalized on it and we won the game. So,
and that's what good teams do. They capitalize on the other team's mistakes. That's why Raisel Iglesias. That's why Raisel Iglesias was able to close the game. An underrated substitution there, also from Brian Snitker with Orlando Arcia at first. He pinch hit Forrest Wall in case Sean Murphy hit a double so he could score. If that's Orlando Arcia on first instead of Forrest Wall, we probably don't score 2 runs there. Matt Olson comes home, of course. He was on third, but that's an underrated move from Brian Snitker there. So did want to highlight that.
Yeah.
But on the Braves side, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, as much as I love Orlando, he's not scoring on, you know, from first.
Yeah, no.
He's quick, but he's not fast. Not like that.
No, yeah. Orlando definitely one of the slowest guys on the team, to say the least here. But as far as the offensive side for the Braves, another homer in this game for Acuna to the opposite field, and Kevin Pillar, like I said, mentioned that great homer to basically lift up the Braves offense, get them out of the rut they had against Steele. Those were 2 of the key hits definitely in this game. Ozzie Albies had a hell of a series in this, as we'll continue to just recap what went on. But Michael Harris and Ozzie both had multiple multi-hit games. So huge games from them both.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
Second game of the series. We all know what happened. Acuna, first 40-70 player in MLB history. And what a moment that was. What a moment.
Yes. I mean, first in history, man. You are 1-1. That's MVP right there. I don't care what anybody says on Twitter. No.
Yeah, he is the MVP.
Yes. Because, I mean, you can go through the numbers. Yeah, Mookie Betts might be leading, you know, this area or that area, but you got to count how many areas Acuna is leading in.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll give you the exact number. Mookie Betts, if you look at like, OPS, batting average, all of like the main statistics, WAR and RBIs only by one is the only thing Mookie is leading in.
Right.
And I love Mookie, but Acuna's MVP, man. Come on.
Yeah, you can't deny. I mean, just look at what he's not just on offense, what he does on defense, and like what he does for the fans, man. Like Mookie does not have that same type of affection or effect on on the game of baseball. Acuna is nothing. Nobody like him.
That's true. But in this game, this was the game where Ozzie Albies did hit a homer in the first inning against Jameson Taillon. Now, Taillon did have a good start. 6 innings of 3-hit, 2-run ball with 3 strikeouts and a walk. I mean, that's a good start. Great quality start, especially against an offense like this. And when you've got Ozzie and Acuna going at the same time, this offense just hits another level that it's already at. I mean, Acuna in this game, 2 hits, an RBI, 2 runs. Ozzie, 3 hits, 3 RBIs, a homer. And he also had the game-winning RBI when Acuna got that historic 70th stolen base when he walked off for the Braves win. So the guys at the top of the lineup were just rolling in this series. You also had Ozuna, who hit a homer. And this homer was with 1 out in the bottom of the ninth. He tied the game up.
Right.
And it just continues to show the strong season that he's had. He's 3 homers away from 40. I need you to hit 3 homers left myself. I need that 40 homer prediction to come through. So yeah, I need 3 more out of you, Marcel. But
all right, Marcel. Come on.
Ultimately, on the pitching side for the Braves, you had Darius Vine starting. And now 6 innings, 3 runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. The homers were really what got him. But honestly, not a bad start for Vines at all. Obviously, the Cubs aren't going to have the type of offense that's going to hit a ton of homers. They're more of this, keep the line moving. They're going to get on base. They're going to foul a lot of pitches off. That's more their type of offense. But he did a pretty solid job in this. I've liked what I've seen from Vines, and definitely a candidate for the postseason roster. I definitely don't see him starting a game though.
No, I don't see him starting the game. I mean, he's making strides. You can see that. Like and like you alluded to in the second game, he was on it. I mean, yeah, he gave up some home runs, but it wasn't backbreaking. Like it was solo shots or something like that. It wasn't oh my God, we can't get back from this or So I applaud him because he's taking his lumps. So
yep. And when you look at the bullpen in this series so far in the first 2 games, Jackson Stevens and Bryce Elder. Well, first of all, Jackson Stevens is not going to be pitching meaningful innings in the playoffs. He'll probably be on the roster, I would say, for like an innings eater, or maybe that'll probably be Michael Tonkin actually. You might see him there, but he's not going to be pitching meaningful innings. Other than that, you had in the first game Pierce Johnson, Brad Hand, Raisel Iglesias, all guys that we're going to be counting on in high leverage situations in the postseason. All throw scoreless innings in the first game. Now you go on to the second game. You had Tonkin throw 2 innings of shutout relief. You had Kirby Yates give up a run, and then Jesse Chavez, who got the win. So overall, in these first 2 games, Braves bullpen, who was struggling a lot over the course of a week and a half, this past week they've been doing a lot better job. Now, on the opposite side of that, the Cubs bullpen. The Cubs were 11-14 at one point in September heading into the series, I believe. And with their season on the line, that's just not gonna work. And a lot of that is because of their bullpen. They had one of the best bullpens in the league before the All-Star break. After the All-Star break, it's just flipped a coin, and it's been bad for them. You had Leiter Jr., you had Jose Cuas, you have Palencia gave up the winning run, and you had Jake Merriweather give up a run as well. So that's 3 runs out of 2 innings from the Cubs bullpen. That's just not going to get it done, especially if we're fighting for a wild card spot.
No, That's not gonna get it done. I mean, even if you take that, if they make it into the playoffs, that's not gonna get it done
Yeah.
because you have to have not just a no not an elite bullpen. You have to have a bullpen that can at least minimize the damage. You know, don't give up. It's just like in football, like having a defense that won't give anything over the top. You have to, you have to have, you know, a stopgap.
Mm-hmm. There's for the Braves, this game was much more balanced offensive game. But we didn't rely. We hit 2 homers. Obviously, you got Ozuna with the homer, you got Ozzy with the homer. But especially in the late innings, in the 7th inning, the 8th inning, the 10th inning, when we scored those 2 runs, you have those were all not via the homer. And this Braves team can score anyway. We've said it so many times with how historically elite this offense is. It's not just the homer. It's not just the keep the line moving type of offense. Either way, the Braves can score, and that's what we've seen in this series so far. Now, I didn't speak about this yet. I do want to get it into it before the 3rd game. But Dansby Swanson returning to Atlanta. He probably didn't have the best series as him coming back with getting swept and not really making a big impact on the series offensively. But his defensive prowess was definitely on display when he came back here to Atlanta. He made a couple plays, especially in the 2nd and 3rd games that we're used to seeing a lot out of Dansby.
Oh yeah, he showed off his arm, when he was here. I won't lie, but
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, his bat was pretty much a non-factor.
Yep.
So, but I wish him the luck. I wish him best of luck.
Mm-hmm. And when the Braves already won this series, you were like, okay, maybe the Braves will let the Cubs have a game, make it a little more hope. Nope. Braves come in and sweep the Cubs 5-3. Now, Michael Harris and Ronald Acuna were really the guys who got it done here. Oh, sorry, not Ronald Acuna. Austin Riley and Michael Harris were really the guys to get it done in this game. Austin Riley with 3 hits at 4 at bats. He had a homer. No, sorry. He was a homer away from the cycle. So he had a single, double, triple, 2 runs scored. Matt Olson also had a 2-run homer. And the Braves, with 3 games to go now, are I think it's 3 or 4 homers away from setting the MLB record set by the Twins in 2019, who by the way, Eddie Rosario was on that team. So can we do it in these final 3 games against the Nationals pitching staff? There is a chance. The Nats pitching staff gives up the most homers on average in the entire league. So it's a good matchup.
All right. Yeah, I think we have a chance to do it. I mean,
We do.
It's only 34 homers, behind. So look, if Matt Olson can, break the home run record and the RBI record, yeah, I think we can get it done. And they're not sitting.
Or sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just they not sitting. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we just need to add one more record. We already have the Acuna record, the Olson record for homers, the Olson record for RBIs, Acuna 40-70, not just the 70 stolen bases. We already have the third time in franchise history we've gone back-to-back 100 consecutive win seasons. We already have historic offensive numbers. We just need to add another record, to the whole MLB by getting the single season homer record. It's not big of a it's not that big of a deal. It's just one more record. But if we dive deep into this game, yes, the offense was good. We know in the beginning, the Braves hit homers. Bullpen held steady here with Kyle Wright, Joe Jimenez, AJ Minter, and Raisel Iglesias only combining to give up 2 runs. But the most encouraging thing out of this game, was Kyle Wright, in my opinion. I think the way he pitched in that 2 1/3 innings, 1 run, and that run was kind of a little soft contact there. But for me, Kyle Wright pitching like that gives him confidence, and he needs to be on that NLDS roster. Excuse me. I think he may not start a game. You might have Jesse Chavez or Michael. I don't think you'll have Michael Tonkin. If anything, you'll have Jesse Chavez maybe open with 1 or 2 innings, and if he's going well, possibly a third. But you could have Kyle Wright come in after that for 3 or 4 innings to get to your horses. The AJ Minters of the world, the Raisel Iglesias, Joe Jimenez, guys that you have set to the 7th, 8th, and 9th. And I think Jesse Chavez and Kyle Wright could be 2 guys that you can see Brian Snitker bridge to get to those late innings, because the confidence that he has out of that last inning, I think he's going to need that, especially when we see him in this national series. I expect to see him out of the bullpen in a long relief appearance for sure in this last series.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, he needs that confidence, like you said, because I mean, it's been a rough year for him, and going into the postseason, we're gonna need him to come, back half of the, and like the 7th inning, or we're gonna need him for innings too, so.
Yeah, Kyle Wright, I don't think you'll see him start Game 3 of the NLDS. I still think it's more of an opener like Jesse Chavez, and then you have Kyle Wright out of the pen. But I think absolutely he needs to be on that NLDS roster with how he's continuing to improve each time he's been out there. It's going to be important for him for sure.
Yes.
So now that was my key to that game basically. But other key performances, you had Matt Olson driving in 2 RBIs, Raisel Iglesias, like I mentioned, with another save in a series. Marcus Stroman did not have a great outing. He in making just his 4th start off the IL, he only lasted 2 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 Ks. And I think they definitely were saving him a little bit. He was on a pitch limit. Normally, you'd see him go back out there, I think. It was just 2 earned runs through 2 innings. But with him just coming off the IL, I understand David Ross and the Cubs being very cautious with him. But the Cubs bullpen was pretty good in this game. In 6 innings covered by the bullpen, only 1 earned run. So that was pretty good. But unfortunately, the Braves bullpen just did a little bit better, only allowing, as a whole, the pitching staff, AJ Smith-Shawver, 1 run through 3 2/3 inning. What do you think of his performance yesterday?
He pitched pretty well. It's just like I said, the key for the Cubs bullpen, he did what I thought, I thought the Cubs bullpen would have did, just hold steady, don't let go of the reins. That's an encouraging sign.
Yeah. And AJ Smith-Shawver, I saw a couple of people on Twitter asking, could he start a game or could he have a big role in the Braves bullpen in the playoffs? And my response to that is, I really like AJ Smith-Shawver. I think he's going to be a great pitcher for us. I mean, if you look at our really young core of pitchers, let's say we sign Max Fried back. You're going to have Max Fried, Spencer Strider, Kyle Wright. I don't know if Bryce Elder is going to be in that long term. I wonder where he starts in that, and especially at spring training next season. But I think when guys like Hurston Waldrop are on the come up right now and how well he's pitched, we're going to see him in the MLB at some point next season. You have to believe.
Yeah.
And when you got that core with AJ Smith-Shawver at the 5th starter, so Fried, Strider, Wright, Waldrop, and Smith-Shawver, that's 5 nasty pitchers. And if you get Charlie Morton coming back for next season, I mean, we've got the pitching depth that we need, even though a lot of our farm system now is, lower in the ranks because, we've traded for Sean Murphy, who I do want to focus on that, but I'll continue my thought. We traded for Sean Murphy. We traded for Matt Olson. We traded for Joe Jimenez, like all these guys, but I think they're paying off. A lot of these guys are having great years. But I'll let you begin with the catching situation. I guess both of these apply to Darnell and Sean Murphy.
Oh boy, I mean, you know what? They started off hot in the first half, and then after the All-Star break, it's just like they sizzled out. completely. I mean, it's even here. Both of them. Well, I mean, they're still still good. Don't get me wrong, but it's even carried over to the defensive side where you see them, you know, missing pitches down in the zone where you know they can make that catch.
Mhm.
And I don't know. It seems like it's a concern, but not a big concern. You know what I'm saying? Like I think they just need to settle down and focus more.
Okay. The only thing is, for me, the offense is kind of a big concern. The only reason that is because we saw Sean Murphy's power numbers. He was an extra base hit machine in the first half of the season. He was leading the league at one point. At one point, he had like 13 extra base hits in a week. I remember that up in Kansas City when we were there in the first few weeks of the season. But since the All-Star break, it's just I honestly I don't see him going opposite way a lot. Obviously, he had that broken bat homer a few days ago in Washington. That was just absolutely nuts. But
Yeah,
uh, but we really, other than that, we really haven't seen Sean Murphy's bat impact the game that much. Obviously, Travis is getting starts here and there, but he hasn't been that great either. I am seeing something better from Travis though that I've been seeing lately. He's more aggressive because we know Travis is at his best when he swings at the first couple of pitches of an at bat. He's done that for years now, and
right.
he's going the opposite way a lot more. I liked what I saw out of him in the Cubs series, so hopefully that's a sign that he's going to get out of this slump. But Sean Murphy's the one I am a little bit more worried about on the offensive side. Defensively, I know Sean Murphy's going to be there,
Yeah,
especially Murphy. I mean, Darno's been pretty good, but the Braves pitchers lately, I don't feel like have done a great job um, holding base runners on first base. Because when you have a defensive catcher like Sean Murphy, who's well regarded as one of the top 3 defensive catchers in the league, when he's not catching a lot of runners, especially with a perfect throw like he did
mhm,
against Dansby in particular in Game 3, that's on the pitcher,
yeah,
and that's one thing I'm going to notice, especially going into this last series here.
yeah. You like for the pitcher, you have to you have to be on notice and see out of the corner of your eye of when that runner is about to go, and you have to get that ball in a place where the catcher can just catch it and hit it. But if the pitch is all the way out here or all the way down here, they have no chance.
Yeah, yeah. And there's so, but ultimately, I mean, this team is still really good. We know the offense is going to be there, but we're just talking about a couple guys that are struggling. It's very rare to have nine people all at the same time going crazy. And the Braves did have that in June. In June, I remember the whole offense was going crazy. Sean Murphy, Travis Darno, all these guys that we're mentioning who are having slumps at the moment was just on fire. But right now, I want to see Sean Murphy and Travis, or both of them preferably, get something going in this last series. Have some confidence getting into the playoffs. That's the main thing I want to see.
Right. Yeah, confidence. Yeah, that's a must. So it can carry on into the playoffs. Yeah.
Yeah. But as we move on here to preview the final series of the year, and I'll put that into perspective, because for me, this season's gone by really fast. That
It,
definitely has.
yeah, it has. I mean, I thought it was still. I mean, just yesterday I thought it was September. I mean, it's just
Like, there's for me, I never really realized when the season's over, because yeah, most of the days of the summer, baseball's going on, and early fall.
yeah,
But I look up at the calendar a couple weeks ago and I was like, whoa, we only got 2.5 weeks left of the season. And it just kind of hit me. But yeah, this final series against the Nationals, like I said, we got a good matchup here to set the MLB homer record. So let's see if we can do it. Alan Winans is starting tonight versus Trevor Williams. And Winans pitched against the Nationals up in Washington. So it's going to be interesting to see the adjustments he makes facing the lineup, the same lineup he did before. Facing the same lineup he did in his previous start.
Yeah. Can you make the right adjustments? And can you notice? What first can you notice what you have to fix, and then can you make the right adjustments to make it work? That's going to be key.
Yes, it's going to be interesting. I've liked what I've seen from Winans, especially the changeup. The changeup down and away to lefties, I feel like has been his best pitch. So I'm going to see how he can execute that, especially against good lefties in this lineup. You've got guys like Cody Bellinger who's having a career year. Ian Happ's a good left-handed hitter. So these guys are sorry. Those are the Cubs. Jeez, but in this lineup, you've got C.J. Abrams, who really destroyed us, honestly, in that Washington series up in Washington, and Keibert Ruiz as well as a decent hitter for the Nationals. So and particularly those two, I want to see him execute that good down and away changeup to those left-handed hitters. That's been a strikeout pitch in my opinion. Yeah,
I agree.
And then for the Braves hitters, they'll be going up against Trevor Williams. Now, we do have some guys with a lot of experience against Williams. Acuna 7 for 15 against him. You've got Marcell Ozuna, who's 9 for 28 against him, and Acuna those 7 hits, including 2 homers. Matt Olson has a homer off him as well. So we do have guys with some experience. But I like what Brian Snitker's doing here, because you rest some guys today. You'll hopefully rest some guys tomorrow. And then I want to see the full lineup in the last game of the season. Michael Harris is getting a day off today. I don't remember when Michael Harris's last day off was. I really don't.
It's been a while.
It's been a long time. So I'm glad to see Forrest Wall. I loved how he played last series in Washington when he got his first career homer. And Forrest Wall now has 3 hits in his career. All 3 hits are extra base hits. Yes. So let's see if he can keep that streak going tonight. That'll be pretty good.
Yeah. You know what? See, this is why I asked that question in our group chat. Like, would you sit, or would you, what would be the perfect recipe? I think this is the perfect recipe, just like you said. Rest a couple here, rest a couple, tomorrow night, and then third game, full go.
Mm-hmm.
You want everybody ready to go come, in the week.
Yep. And Braves announced they're going to have intra-squad games this week to kind of simulate and have people in the stands. So
that's smart.
That's really smart, especially, what happened last year. But yes, people say, we rested a ton of guys in Miami. We rested a lot of people, and the guys got a lot of time off before the NLDS last year because we were chasing down the Mets that entire time.
We were tired, yeah.
This year, I think it's a bit different. We've clinched the division now for over 2 weeks, or it's going to be over 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And now you've got time to rest. It's going to be a question of rest versus rust. But I think in those inter-squad games, if you're able to go to that, those will probably be pretty fun. Probably be pretty fun to watch.
It should be.
So if you get a chance, the tickets are free. They said as well.
I believe so. Yeah.
So that'll be fun to watch. I'm gonna try and see if I can go to one of those games as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to.
Anything else you want to touch on before we get to the Hawks here? Or well, actually, Charlie Morton. So, but anything else about this series?
No, I mean just take care of business, as usual, and I mean just don't. I mean, just take care of business, man. I mean. It's nothing. We have nothing to play for, really. I mean, so
no, we don't. We're not gonna be pitching any of our regulars this season. So, if the Braves starters give up a ton of runs this series, I don't want to see anybody panicking. I don't want to see these guys. These guys will not pitch meaningful innings in the playoffs. Most of them not even on the roster. So I don't want to see any panic. But you're actually. I might be wrong about that because Spencer Strider, I think, might be pitching the second game of this series. I have to double check that, but I think I did see that. Yes. So Strider is pitching the second game of this series. So that is going to be the only game where I want to see Strider have a tune-up for the playoffs. This better be an elite start from Spencer Strider. That's the one time I'm going to look at. But as far as Alan Wines tonight and our third starter, who I'm not sure yet, those are the guys that I'm like, okay, I want to see a good performance out of them, especially for, auditioning for spring training next year, maybe a spot on the postseason roster, but very unlikely. Those are the type of guys that I'm going to say, okay, I like the performance, even though, if the Braves lose, it's just not going to be that big of a deal.
Right. Yeah. So what? I mean, it's not really going to affect the outcome. So
exactly. So moving on to a more pressing matter here, Charlie Morton. Unfortunately, he's going to miss the NLDS with that right index finger issue. And yes, this is pretty concerning. I know Strider and Fried I'm confident they're both going to be ready. But now what do we do at game 3? And I mentioned before, maybe Chavez as an opener, Kyle Wright for the long relief. I think that may be the way the Braves go. And that's all going to depend on what Max Fried and Spencer Strider do. Will we have Kyle Wright and Jesse Chavez available in game 3, depending on what games 1 and 2 do? So, in my opinion, you definitely cannot go down 0-2 in NLDS, but you must win at least one of those games at home in the first 2 games. You have to. We can't afford to be down 0-2 going into a game where we don't know who the starter is penciled in, and we don't have ultimate confidence in.
Yeah, it's imperative to. I mean, we have to. If you can win both of those games, but at the least go 1-1. Yeah, that's imperative. You have to, because it's just like you said. We don't know who's going to start game 3, so it's up in the air.
Yeah, it could be Bryce Elder. It could be Kyle Wright. Could be Jesse Chavez into Kyle Wright then. I mean, with Michael Tonkin even, I think that's a long shot. But there's a ton of good things that Brian Snitker can go with. And I think this series is going to be, and that last Cubs series also is going to be a test for a lot of the guys that are potential candidates to open a game if he uses an opener and doesn't go with Kyle Wright or doesn't go with Bryce Elder, one of those traditional starters. So it's going to be interesting to see. That's what I'm going to look at. And if this offense struggles the last 3 games, yes, you can say, oh, no, the offense struggled in the last series of the year going into the playoffs. There's too big of a sample size for me to be concerned about this offense. If they struggle, it's not a big deal to me. It really isn't. Won't be at all. But by the time we come on here next week, we will know who the Braves are facing.
Yes.
Because a week from tomorrow is the first day of the NLDS, sorry. So tomorrow, next Friday, we're going to have a whole show previewing the NLDS and the whole playoffs. Maybe we do playoff predictions here. So it's going to be an exciting show next week, as well as recapping Media Day, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Yes, sir.
All right. So we move on to the Atlanta Hawks. Media Day, Monday. I'm going to be in the building asking questions. So one thing I want to ask you, Ant, what is one thing that you want to get out of at Media Day? Is there one thing you want to hear from a player or Coach Snyder or Landry Fields that you're going to be looking at as far as just the answer to one specific area?
Okay. And you know, by watching, us being on we talk Hawks TV. Mm-hmm. We all have this glaring, about Dre Hunter.
Yeah.
What have you been working on in the offseason to get better, dribbling the ball, or even if you have to go on the post, or whatever. What have you been working on? It's one thing to be working on stuff in practice, but what in particular have you been working on by yourself to get your game better? That's the glaring question I would have for Dre Hunter.
Okay. For me, I'm not sure if Coach Snyder's gonna come out and really say this, just point blank. But I want to know what he plans to do with the 4 and 5 center and power forward position, because you got Sadiq Bey, Jalen Johnson, Clint Capella, and Yeko Okongwu. Those are the 4 candidates that are going to be at those positions. And then Bruno off the bench if Capella is traded. But if you look at it, there's just so many ways to combine those, and we've talked about it on the show a couple of times. But that's I want to know from Quinn, what does he plan to do there? And I ask him something along the lines of how is he going to determine a good fit on both ends of the floor at the starting 4 and 5 this season? Something along those lines of is that's why I plan to ask him, get some info on what we can expect the starting lineup and more of the bench roles to look like, because I think that it'll give me more. It'll make my predictions and give me my season outlook a little bit more detail as far as just if I know what the starting lineup and bench rules will be at that 4 and 5 position. Now, if I was to go for a specific player, a specific player probably for me, maybe it might be DeJounte Murray. So I don't know. In July, he put out a story post saying, this year is going to be the best year of my career. So my response to that, my question would be, in what areas of your game do you feel you're going to take the biggest leaps in this season? I mean, when you post that, that's a big deal. So that's one question I thought of for DeJounte that'll hopefully be really good.
That's a great question.
So yeah, I've got a whole document of questions here that I've been working on for the past week and a half, 2 weeks probably, and definitely gonna have them ready for Monday. It's gonna be exciting.
Oh yeah, that's facts.
We're gonna come back with a ton of notes. But yeah, hopefully I can meet other Hawks reporters there and stuff like that. That'll be really interesting. And I'm gonna have articles coming out on Back Sports page about Media Day, recapping and some themes and questions from there. So definitely be on the lookout for those.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other Hawks things that you wanted to discuss before we wrap it up here?
I mean, I am looking forward to. This will be my first time going to an open practice for the Hawks next Monday. I can't wait to see that. Because, it's like we were talking about before the show came on. I've never seen what they do behind closed doors. And that would be something for me, being a sports fan in general, I want to see how the operation works, So I'm excited for that.
Yes, sir. All right. So we got Media Day. We got open practice. We got training camp coming on less than a month. Hawks start regular season basketball. Braves getting into the playoffs. Atlanta United getting into the playoffs. The Dream, we're in the playoffs. Atlanta Falcons have a 500 record, or over 500, I mean. So, hey, we're 2-1. So, hey, this is a good time to be an Atlanta sports fan. We could have Atlanta United, Braves, and Hawks all playing in the playoffs at the same time, potentially upcoming here. So that's going to be really exciting. So don't forget to tune into all those if you can. But without further ado, thank you guys for tuning in tonight at Georgia Sports Nation. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you guys next week, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace.
Peace.